up, everybody? I'm Miles, your host for Running the Extra Mile. We're doing it a little different today with a Google Meets video here, given that the person I'm hosting is out in the Chicago area. And both of us don't really have the time to travel out to see one another, but this is a good buddy of mine, James Diamond, who is a head coach over at the Chicago Area Runners Association, or Cara.
Yep. Do I say
Yeah,
something?
go
Sorry.
ahead. Yeah, sorry. No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. Like Miles said, I'm excited to be on and chat a little bit about Cara and running, and specifically Chicago running and all that good stuff.
So yeah, I guess a little bit of a background on you here we'll start off with, just to kind of get to know you. As I said, I know James. James was actually the first person to recruit me for collegiate running when he was the head coach over at Rockford University. But it seems like you've had a pretty good history in coaching before that, starting in at Lyle's High School.
Yeah. So I've been coaching a while. My first, I guess, official kind of coaching role was being an assistant coach at Lyle High School just for that summer, leading into my senior year of college. And so that was a really good foot in the door. I was really grateful for that opportunity, and I'd go back on free weekends and help them with their home meets. But then also was the head coach for the club team at Carthage College my senior year. So I was an NCAA athlete, and then also coaching some club level stuff as well. So once I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, I kind of dove straight into it, and trying to balance all that with my studies was fun, obviously. And then, yeah, went to Wisconsin Lutheran for 2 years, was on the NCAA level. I focused primarily on distance events. And then my last year at Wisconsin Lutheran, I was working closer with the 10K runners, and specifically with the steeplechase runners, where we had some pretty decent success. We had a conference champion in the steeple, and couple all conference performances in the 10K as well that we were really happy with. But that was in the assistant capacity, and then went to Rockford University, worked there for 4 years, and now I'm at Cara.
Nice. And so, where did you kind of figure out that coaching was kind of the career that you wanted to follow at? Because it seems like you kind of been doing it for a while, but it seems like you kind of followed what most coaches actually do, is where they start at a high school level and then kind of figure out like, oh, hey, this is what I kind of like, and eventually lead themselves to a head coach position at a higher level.
Yeah, it kind of took me a while to put the pieces together that coaching was actually something that I would enjoy and potentially be good at. I went into college and I was going to get a degree in business, minor in German, and a secondary degree in economics. So I kind of was looking more towards going like the international business, international finance route, but had and maybe even like going the political route. But ultimately, I had a really hard time like connecting those things as being more than just like hobbies. It's like, wow, I really enjoy reading books about economics, but it's like, would I really enjoy producing research or flying around the world for this, that, the other thing? And those things didn't really excite me. And I eventually put the pieces together that my coach at Carthage College was a full-time employee of the university. And that's when I kind of thought back to my high school career and how I'd always wanted to be a high school coach, but never wanted to be a teacher. And it all of a sudden started to click into place into me. And then I got a new coach, Coach Henry over at Carthage, who I told him that I wanted to be a college coach, and he was an excellent mentor to me and really awesome with guidance. And he kind of like told me about like where I was in terms of my ability, like where I was coming from like a prestige standpoint, like trying to get into coaching, coming from Carthage College versus somebody who maybe ran at Wisconsin and who was a Badger. Like it's a little bit of an uphill battle. So he encouraged me on taking a ton of different career building opportunities and connecting with a lot of people within the profession, especially in the Midwest area. And so once I kind of was given a direction, I was able to, go for it.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome like story. It's like I did like as much as I am doing collegiately running right now and stuff like that myself. It's like before I got to Rock University, I was at a community college that didn't have a team, but running has been such a big part of my life and everything like that. And I knew in the back of my head, there's always been a dream of like, man, if the cars fall right, coaching would be amazing and stuff like that. And so I just took the shot and reached out to the Guilford cross country coach, who at the time was Rick Durso, like a good butt. Knew him personally in my life, throughout my life and all that. He knew me as a runner and was just like, hey, is there any chance of me just being able to help? And he was so excited, especially coming just being done with high school running. It meant I knew what the experience was. It wasn't like it's been a little bit like, oh hey, like what's changed and everything. It's like, no, I'm fresh out of high school. I know what the running is. I know a lot of the guys on the team and stuff like that. So it was really just like as a mentor to them, just like, hey, here's what we're doing. It's like I'm just here to kind of coast along, learn some skills, but just help you guys improve. And a lot of them, it was insane watching it. Like a lot of them improved greatly, and just the hearing them be like, hey, like thanks for that advice right there at that race. Like this really helped. I was like, dang, like coaching just seems like such a fun job now. It's like it's hard to like ditch it. It's like I have a career path and all that, but it's still stuck there. Like coaching is a dream.
Yeah, it's addicting, and it's especially addicting because I guess don't give all the credit to the assistant coach, but those guys were pretty good when you were there.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it really is addicting. You get that like treadmill of success. You get a dopamine hit every single
Hmm.
time one of your runners performs. Especially on the high school level, you have such a big roster that it's like every PR just fuels you even more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like they put head coach and they put assistant coach. Like there's that label right there. But really, it's like at the end of the day, they're just a coach. They've had the running experience. They've had the career. It might have been different times. It might have been different coaching stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, we're all just runners, and it's just coming together, just helping each other is such a good thing. But I guess let's kind of dive into that now with that. Cara, it's a giant nonprofit organization that I see was founded in 1978. So you've been around for a pretty good time and all that in the Chicago area and have grown. So what kind of drew you to this position?
Yeah, so I what the main thing that really drove me to it is I grew up in the Chicago area. I went to Downers Grove North High School, and college coaching is really fun and, like I said, like super addictive, right? But through Cara, I'm able to reach a really large swath of people. And so, like, our summer marathon training program is the largest program that we do. And that has anywhere between 2,500 and 2,800 participants each year. And so, when you get that opportunity, it's hard to say no to it, because at the end of the day, it's like I think the city of Chicago should really be like the beating heart of distance running in the United States. And most, to be like quite frank, the reason I believe that is because this is where I grew up and I like distance running and I like Chicago. So therefore, it should just be the best in the world, at distance running.
No,
So
for sure.
like, yeah.
I mean, you
So
guys
it's
host so many races and all that. Like, I didn't write most of them down, but it's like you guys help with like the Shamrock Shuffle stuff like that. So like, there's the Shamrock Shuffle, the half marathon, the Chicago Marathon. Like, you guys are just like a big part in everything like that. Which just like having an organization like that in the background is such a big help and fun thing to be.
Yeah, so like that's a great example of like, so we don't actually own Shamrock Shuffler
Yeah.
13.1, but it's part of our circuit too, which is just, I think that when you leave college and you're like, well, now what, right? There's no conference, there's no team, there's no whatever. But in Chicago there is that. There is a conference and there are teams that you can join, and you can chase your PRs and chase a score, and you can score as an individual and you can score as a team. And in the Chicago racing circuit, which is under Cara, that's a big part. I think it offers something really unique to people who run in the Chicago area, who take advantage of it. And it's our oldest program. It's one of our kind of smaller programs just because of how big everything else
Hmm.
has grown. But that when we started in 1978, it was essentially starting with the circuit. And so it's continued to last. And you know, without the circuit, there's no Cara, there's no giant,
Hmm.
there's no like giant training programs, there's no none of the outreach projects that we do, there's none of the advocacy projects that we do. So uh, yeah, I mean, it's just about, at the end of the day, we're just trying to build community, and the circuit is like a fantastic way that we do that. So
So for those that are like interested in like again, like a lot of people finish their collegiate level, and a lot of them, if they're good enough, they'll end up getting a contract with a bigger company, stuff like that. Some people though are just like, you know what, I'm done with the competitive side, stuff like that. But then there's that group that's kind of just like, well, I want to run still competitively, just not at a pro level. How does one start to get like involved in your group?
yeah, so there's a bunch of ways to get involved. So like I said, like the most, let's say I want to just keep running, I want to be a Cara member, but I don't want to go all in on this, that, or the other thing, right? Then you can join one of our circuit teams, where it's like we don't have any say over what Oak Park Runners does, but they're a group. A lot of their runners are members. They're following our circuit. I see the same 30 faces of Oak Park Runners every single week when we're in
Mhm.
season, So, in that sense, you're an Oak Park runner, but you're a part of Cara. And then for people who want to get more like into, let's say, the kind of core, we've got run crews that are in the city, and those are kind of free group runs that we do across the city. We're trying to hit a bunch of different neighborhoods, so we've got run crews in some like kind of typically considered underserved communities like Austin, like down in Marquette Park, and we're providing a safe space and for those groups to train. But we're also in West Loop, and we're in Edgewater and stuff like that. And for our runners who really want to, kind of focus on mostly the marathon, which I think
Mhm.
anyone who does the marathon is usually a little bit more performance focused, even if the performance is just I want to finish, you know, then they would register as a training participant, follow us for an 18-week marathon training cycle. We do have half marathon training as well for the spring and winter. And yeah, for that program, it's similar to, I guess, what you would know from like a high school or college team. But we meet twice a week. You're getting an email from me, the coach, every week with some sort of like newsletter information. You've got your training plan that you're working off of. We're all kind of working towards the same goal race. I try to create some sort of incentive for us to work towards that goal race. So for Chicago Marathon, our group leaders who are key volunteers for us, they get guaranteed entry to Chicago. They don't have to go through lottery.
Mhm.
Our group leaders for winter marathon training, they get free entry into the Wisconsin Marathon, and then our participants get discounted entry to Wisconsin Marathon. So we're trying to kind of keep moving as a unit, the same way, have that real season. And for our runners who they stick around, they qualify for Boston, and maybe they go above and beyond. Those people typically get inserted as they turn into Cara Racing Team members, where they're training with us year round. They volunteer with us, and volunteering is a really key piece of what we're doing. And yeah, so that's kind of like the trajectory, and that's the trajectory from my perspective of training. But there's other ways where people go down the go run route and they volunteer with our go runs, and then they become a key volunteer, and then they become a board member, and then if you're a board member, then you're my boss's boss, and so there's a lot of ways to get involved where you don't have to be like this really high performance athlete with this robust background. You can just be somebody who loves running and loves the community, and we try to create as many of those opportunities for you to get involved as possible.
Yeah, that sounds amazing and stuff like that. And like you said, like everyone's welcomed into it. There's the circuits and stuff like that. I believe I registered for that thing like with the Los Lobos under them and all that. I can't
Yep.
remember. I can't remember if I
Yep,
did
you're
it.
on their team.
Yep, under that, I mean, I'm so focused on like I said, collegiate running that it sucks. Like it takes away. Like I love that group. I love running with you guys and stuff like that. But then when like it comes to school, it's like the focus comes to that, and I'm like, sorry, and I kind of just disappear. But kind of going back though to talking like the people that are more performance focused and stuff like that, and are meeting 2 times a week with you, getting emails, a lot of those people, again, they are older, they're more experienced with the running. How does it come to like you as the head coach? Like, how do you coach a bigger group like that? Like, what's the style in that, in a sense, with making sure that, or is it like an individual thing? Like, hey, I'm gonna focus like individually on everyone, or you kind of just like, you guys know what you're doing, just communicate with me.
Yeah, so actually, even with those kind of paid groups, we get, I mean, 40% of any given training plan can be people who are running their very first marathon
Hmm.
with one of our groups. And so our pace groups go from 13-minute run walk up to 7:30 pace. And sometimes, the 7:30 folks, a lot of times they just kind of do whatever pace
Yeah.
they need to do that day. But either way, so it's like this really large expense, and you can have people running 13-minute run walk who have done 50 marathons, and you can have people who are doing the 13-minute run walk who've done zero. And so the way we do it is like, I am kind of like, it's like, I am the key in terms of like, this is what we're doing in the season. I'm writing out the structure, and I'm giving all of that information out to the runners, to the athletes. And I say I'm a reactive coach. So when they have questions, they come back, and then I can respond. So that
Hmm.
works pretty well, even with the thousands of runners we can work with throughout the summer. Where we're able to get more individualized with it is what is like the on the ground look like. So my key volunteers are my site coordinators, and over the summer I have 12 training sites, and there's site coordinators that are in charge of all those sites, and then they handle a lot of the little stuff where they're making sure the group leaders are staying on pace, making sure we're doing tight formations. They're giving me feedback on making sure hydration is set up in the right locations. They're reaching out if their athletes are confused about this, that, or the other thing. And then even beneath them are the group leaders. And so at a given site, let's say at one of our larger sites, we've got 300 participants. You'd have like two group leaders, you'd have like 30, or no, sorry, you'd have two site coordinators, 30 group leaders, and then the other 260 some folks are going to be like your participants.
Hmm.
And so that's how we're able to manage like a really large group, is because even the largest groups are only getting up to like 300 people individually. And so in the communications, it always starts from the assumption that nobody knows anything,
Yeah.
and then builds up from there. And then, once you are, let's say you've done like 15 years of Cara training, that's when we try to put you in that group leader role. And it's like, you're going to use your 15 years of experience to get this next crop of people like moving through. Um, and, I'll work with and then I can work with them more specifically where they're like, I am hitting a wall, or I want to bump up my mileage safely, or I want to start incorporating this into the plan, but I'm usually using this training plan, right? So those more experienced athletes, that's where it's like the reactivity of like, this person's been coming back year after year after year. I'm going to give them the attention that they need, because things need to be so dialed in for them.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I can see it's like, yeah, running again. Like, you have, like I said previously, like, there's the coach, but in reality, like, we're all just runners, and being in a group like that, everyone just communicates and talks with each other and has advice for everyone, no matter what pace you're at or stuff like that. It's like, with Los Lobos, like when I first joined, it's like I was well faster than most of the people because it was just a fun little run group. But since joining that, it's opened up so many like conversations with me and talking like, hey, like, what's your thoughts on this, like your experience running this pace, running this, like how does one get to your level and stuff. And I'm like, it's really just like, it's just your love for the sport. It's like you just run and you communicate and talk and you put your goals out there. It's like you have your overall goal, but you have to have those stepping stones. It's like, I want to finish this race, I want to finish this pace, this time, and it just eventually leads up to that goal, and you just kind of help people along the way with cheering and just running and motivating them regardless of what pace you're at.
Yeah, and I think that's something where the I the like adult recreational running scene is, I'm sure like with your Los Lobos folks, even the people on the Los Lobos team that are like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun, they've improved dramatically,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's just this natural progression where people don't realize that it's like you're just here to have fun. But if you show up every single Saturday and you're going to do a 12 to 20-mile long run and you do it every Saturday for 30 Saturdays straight or however often your group meets, you're just going to get pretty good,
Hmm.
like regardless of your natural ability level, you're going to see that improvement. And so much of the adult running scene is just like building a community where people can be consistent and you're like almost tricking them into being these like high performance athletes where I have had like it's like some of my runners who can't, are just trying to break 5 hour for the marathon. It's like they're doing more consistent training than some of my college athletes
Hmm.
that I had coached in years previously, where it's like you have a college kid and it's like, why am I pulling teeth to get you to run 15 miles a week? And now I'm at this adult level where it's like I have somebody who's, if they could break 5 hours, that would make their day and or that'd make their year, you know, and they're knocking out like they're peaking at 40 miles a week. They can do a 20-mile long run. They train every single week. They're hitting the weight room. They're doing all this stuff. And I'm like, that's phenomenal. It's like, I wish I had that discipline. um, so
Yeah, no, that's very fair and stuff like that. I guess kind of going with this, like you have people that have their goals, but as you, like as a runner, as like a coach, as a key in that, like what are some of your goals with that or with CAR, like the organization? Like what are the goals and accomplishments that you look to achieve or have achieved that you're proud of?
yeah, so it's kind of like a twofold. Like Cara itself has its goals, and then I myself have my own goals within like the training segment that I manage. And so Cara as an organization, our goal is we want to be a key component in like advocacy, a key component in like creating opportunities for runners in the Chicagoland area. And then where I fit in with that and like what I'm trying to do on the coaching side of it is I would love to have I think we already have the largest group training program in the country. I haven't found anything that comes close to what we do for compared to what our summer
Hmm.
marathon training program is. But in 2,500 people who train with us over the summer, and like 1,800 of them are group training. There's millions of people in Chicago, and so I see there's just a lot more people that we can reach, and the more people that join us, train with us, and they run the marathon and they feel good about it, those are the people that keep running. And so something that's kind of cool about Cara, I think it's cool. Some people who are a little more possessive might not think it's cool, but there's a lot of running groups in the Chicagoland area who are filled with people who were former Cara runners. And they left because it's like, well, I would love to do this, but do it like 3 miles that way, like in my hometown or in
Hmm.
my home neighborhood, or like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this, but we, specifically targeted this specific community or this specific age group or this specific pace group, right? And so that's where like I think Cara's strength is, and where the Chicago running scene strength is like when Cara gets big and Cara can be this really big core, we teach people about training and we teach people about group running and we teach people about path etiquette and all that stuff. And then you can get like all these little offshoots, and it's kind of like everything, it's like a flywheel of like how you grow the running community in Chicago.
So I'm just curious though, like you guys are just, it's not a professional level or anything like that, nonprofit organization, just really here just commute like as a community of runners and stuff like that. But do you at any point see Kara trying to become a professional level, like something like that, trying to draw in a professional runner at some point, trying to coach someone that could eventually compete professionally and stuff like that?
Yeah, so yeah, for me specifically, I want to make sure that my training programs cater to everyone. I like to say from cradle to casket.
Hmm.
That's the goal. That's the goal. We're not there yet right now. Like training is just an adult training group, but that's part of the ambition with starting the Cara racing team. When I came in 2023, is wanted to start the racing team, and we had some pretty good success when I first came to Cara. Our total participants in all of our training programs, we had about a dozen people that could run under 310 for the marathon. And we had we'd have like an individual woman, for example, who could run in the 310s and would just be alone on workout days. And it's hard to retain those people because you don't want them running alone. Nobody wants to run alone. You join a group. But then, since we've started this racing team, we've got 3 women now who can run under 3 hours for the marathon very reliably. And we've got about a half a dozen guys who can go under 250 pretty reliably. And then that fills out everything else, right? Like I don't really keep track of how many men are in the 310s anymore. Like
Hmm.
it's a pretty big number. I don't keep track of. No, I should, but I mean, the number of women that we have that have hit that Boston qualifying mark of like 325 at like just at the Chicago Marathon alone is huge. It's like 40, 50 women, you know? and so, yeah, I do want us to have that time where we can recruit guys who are running those 215 to 220 ranges. And we can bring in those women that are in the like 230 to 240 range. One of our training participants on the women's side did run 240. She was a virtual runner though, come from New York. So she's not going to be racing on our team anytime soon, unfortunately, but I do have that ambition. But at the same time, I always kind of need to keep one eye on like, what is the beginning running programming doing,
Hmm.
right? So like we just restarted our beginning 5K program this past year, and it was like 1 8-week session. And then the ambition is to grow it to 3 8-week sessions and get it back to, I think we had that beginning running program from like, I don't know, like 2002 to like 2008 or something like that. And it got up to like 50 participants. And so I would love it if we did 3 sessions of 50 participants each, then we're going above and beyond anything we've ever done historically. So I think it's like, it's an extra effort, it's like on the one hand, I want Olympic trials participants, but on the other
Yeah.
hand, I want more beginner runners to participate in Cara than have ever participated in our organization before. And so it's this like, it's a dual mandate in a way, you
Yep.
know?
Kind of, it's like you gotta try and it's like you gotta balance it out in a sense, but it's like it's kind of cool, but it's like it goes hand in hand though. Like eventually, like you could get the largest amount of beginner runners, and that could draw in the credibility for the group and all that, and eventually someone could be like, oh hey, like a pro runner could one day be like, oh hey, like I'm from the Chicago area, there's this run group, like what if I just reach out and join them or something like that? Or it can go the other way where like you could get your first pro runner, your first Olympic trial competitor, and people in the Chicago area be like, you're telling me I can run with this person, or I can like at least like get a glimpse of them if I join this group. It could go both ways, like in a
Yeah.
sense, and it's kind of cool though, like just seeing that. But I like again, I was just curious, like did the group organization have a goal to eventually try and go professional or anything like that? It was, but it is a new year though, and you said like you're starting this cycle over again. What is kind of the focus right now for the organization? Like, what are your guys' goals? Like, I know like the Chicago half is in a few, let's see, 6 months and all that, but there's the Shamrock race before that, and then eventually the Chicago Marathon. Like, what are you guys focused on right now?
Yeah. So, as an organization, 2026, we really want it to be a year of expanding our membership and creating like deep community partnerships. And so that would be like looking at something like we have a really good deep community partnership with the park districts
Hmm.
with at Cara, and we put on programming for them, and they give us a lot of kind of special access to their facilities throughout the year, and expanding what those deep partnerships look like with like universities and other nonprofits around the city of Chicago. So as an organization, those are what our big targets are. And currently what we're looking towards is like I'm managing our half marathon training right now. Our winter marathon training just started up, and then our Boston performance training just started up. And also cycling through getting finalizing our 2026 roster for the racing team. So start of the year is always kind of like a little hectic for
Hmm.
like in the training side of things, just because it's like start on so many of our projects. Like our summer marathon training registration opened up in December. So it's like that registration opened before we even started our winter marathon training. So um, as I kind of look forward, it's like I I I am so focused on participation in a lot of ways. I think the biggest one that's relevant to you and probably people listening is that we're starting a long run site in Rockford. And so that's going to be our farthest out long run site. That's co-hosted with Los Lobos, um, and so that's going to be our farthest geographic reach that we've ever attempted.
Hmm.
But I think that as somebody who lived in Rockford for 4 years and was looking for a running community and kind of just there are groups and they're good people, but it's just like I never found where I could click,
Hmm.
or sustainably, maybe it was like great people, wrong time, or
Yeah.
great people, wrong pace group, right? Or whatever, I couldn't make it sustainable. And so I'm really excited to bring a training group out there to Rockford, partnering with Los Lobos, which is obviously an awesome group that's out there. In doing that, I think we're going to be able to provide for the greater Rockford running community. I'm hoping we can bring hydration stations out there to the Rockford Riverfront, which is something we have in Chicago, which is an awesome resource that keeps people active on a Saturday morning. And then, by getting those guaranteed group leader bibs out to Los Lobos' people, obviously that reinforces the benefits of participating
Hmm.
with them, but it just increases the geographic representation of Rockford at the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah, no, and I didn't know this was coming to Rockford, but that's an awesome to hear. Like I remember when I first joined Los Lobos, like even though I wasn't competing collegiately or anything like that, I wasn't really doing. I was doing some road races, looking into that and stuff. I kind of struggled with the same thing with you at first, like joining the group. Like the paces weren't really there for me, and that's what kind of scared me when I first showed up to a group. Like I tried joining. I didn't hear. It was funny. I told Fed like I made a request for the Facebook and didn't get into it, but noticed that they were doing a run at the Prairie Street Brew House and all that, and it was just like, I'm just gonna go. Like I'm just gonna show up, see what happens. And
Yeah,
afterwards, I talked with him, and it was just like the connection was there though. It felt so cool, and it was like it was kind of at first I was scared, but it seemed like I was kind of that like uh crap. I'm zoning out on the word blessing in disguise for Fed in a sense because Fed also was like looking to do so much bigger stuff and all that. And I remember talking with him like he was looking to eventually start a race team under the Los Lobos name, but was always scared of how people would react. And then I kind of showed up and was kind of just that faster paced person, kind of interested in running and stuff like that. And was like he took that faith of like that jump, like let's see where this goes now. And Los Lobos has grown so much, and it's like we're expanded so much bigger and stuff like that. Like I know at one point we were trying to come out to the Chicago area with you guys and stuff like that and make a group and all that, but it for sure will like help like coming to the Rockford area, just growing that connection. Like Rockford has, it's funny, like I always tell people, we have a bigger running community than it looks like.
yeah,
But just like the financial state in the city to host the races, like there were so many races I remember growing up that I would run that lost the financial support from organizations that were doing it and they just kind of disappear. So the running groups kind of just disappear. Like there are runners out there, but you don't really see them that much anymore because there aren't that many races. But then you get the Dash for Dash and it was like they had the highest number of participants this year, like sign up and stuff like that. And like yes, there was a winter storm, but they still had over like 700 people still come out and run that race in the blizzarding snow.
yeah. It's yeah, I mean you're making a pretty good observation about just like the running industry as a whole, right? And there is actually a shift in the club side of it where like there you have your traditional running clubs. Cara would be more of a traditional running club
Mm-hmm.
where when it was founded, it was a group of folks came together, they formed a board, they had a president, and that was this super, they got a tax ID number. Like that's like how clubs used to start. And I would imagine that's kind of some of that. There was probably a lot of that in Rockford, and those clubs still exist in Rockford. The Road Runners and I feel like there's one more,
There's
but
the
um,
Wildcats or Fire, stuff like that. Like there's groups like
yeah,
those.
Wildcats is under Roadrunners. Fire is Park Districts. So I guess really Roadrunners is like the most traditional example of
Hmm.
like that style of club. But nowadays it's so much more of like these like community based kind of, I would call them, it's not an insult, but it's like an Instagram based group or a Facebook based group. We promote it. We try to get people to come on social media. People show up, and then you kind of are organically walking through those steps of like, do we want to be a nonprofit? Like, oh crap, we need insurance. Do we want to do team uniforms? Well, who's in charge of all of this? Is there ever going to be a real board of directors? Things of that nature. And it's not. I mean, in Chicago, for example, it's been fantastic, and that is led to like every single neighborhood having a club where anyone can participate
Hmm.
and join. But it's a shift. It's a shift because you know, getting back to like who would host some of these races, it was those like traditional clubs, like uh, Oak Park Runners has a race, Evanston has races that they are doing, Elmhurst Runners, they have races they're doing. It used to be, so you'd actually have like a home meet,
Yeah.
back, in a sense. But all that stuff, like that dynamic, like has changed where it's like, who hosts the races, who are the clubs, like how formalized are these things, where they're coming a lot. I feel like they're a lot more grassroots now. And like you said, Rockford's had some like rough economic times, and on the running industry, it's like those rough economic times generally are then hit this like transition phase. And so yeah, like Los Lobos is one of those, of the positive example of something that's like sprung up from
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, no, and it's like we just try and get out there at like the small races, like we do stuff like that. But again, we've been trying to grow and stuff like that, and just build a community like inside Rockford, but also like outside of Rockford. Like our debut of the running community, like of the race team on it, was at the Quad Cities Marathon, like the relay and stuff like that. And we had like 4 groups or 5. We had like 4 or 5 groups race it and stuff like that. And the group I was on, we ended up running only 4 legs. One of our runners was a little hurt, and we were like, she has the marathon coming up, and we're like, no, we want you to be smart. Like, don't worry about it. Like, do not put the stress on your legs or anything like that running that. But we ended up taking second place in the open male group, and we like, as I crossed the finish line as the final leg, the race director just loved like the uniform and all that, and it was a very simple one, but just that community, like we just made a show and all that, and it's like we've become a more noticeable group out there and stuff like that, and it's just like we're just trying to bring back running overall, like
Yeah.
we're just trying to have
Yeah, there
fun.
was Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but I raced Quad Cities for Los Lobos this past
Yeah,
year.
I saw that. Yes, they
Yeah.
reached out and asked if I wanted to run again. As much as I wanted to, it was like again, it fell on a week there that there wasn't a meet. But this year coming, I was like, there were so many goals that I had at Rock University that I wanted to hit. Where I was like, hey, I'm sorry, but I don't want to jeopardize it with this race and all
Right.
that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I will for sure eventually come back and run with you guys again because I would love to shoot for first place at some point. Like I know there's a elite group out there running it every year and winning it instead of course record, but I feel like if we get the right team out there, Los Lobos will be fighting for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean the cool thing is I'm just always so energized by like those team events because like the Los Lobos racing team, it's there is no like you don't have to hit a certain time to be on it,
Nope.
right? And so I think like what's so cool is that you might have people on that racing team who've maybe never been on a team before. Like maybe they didn't do sports in high school. And so like if that's your first exposure to being on a team, it's like, wow, what a positive experience. And you can bring that to like anybody and everybody,
Hmm.
which is just like a part of why I really enjoy being in the nonprofit space for running is like being able to, because I had such a great experience, obviously, in the high school and the college level. And then being able to, create that experience for somebody who's maybe in their 40s and they've spent so many years without experiencing what it's like to put on a uniform, do a warm up, race your heart out, and then hang out with your buddies afterwards. It's like, oh wow, that's special. It's like you've gone
Mm.
40 years without experiencing this. It's great. So
Yeah, no, and it's always fun getting to bump into you at races and stuff like that. Like that one time when you guys were up doing a run up in Kenosha at Carthage.
that
Like
was so wild.
that was
Yeah.
so I was up there visiting my girlfriend and everything. Kind of we were already planning to do a run out there at Parkside and all that, just have some fun. And then I saw the Instagram story and went, hang on, are you here right now? And you were like, yeah. I'm like, why are you here? Like,
Yeah.
you guys are just like so wild. It's just fun bumping into people like that in the group like that, and it was just funny. And then at the Chicago half marathon, that was my first time, and I remember like posting about it, being like so grateful, and you immediately reached out and you're like, you're running it? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, you want to hang out and all that? And I was like, yeah, if
Yeah.
I get the opportunity, then for sure, like I will come by and say hi and stuff like that. It's just fun that it's like I'm not officially a part of the group, but it's just so welcoming to everyone, and the advice and stuff like that from everyone is great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kind of talked about future stuff like that. We talked about that. I did notice that you were part of the racing team every once in a while. It looks like that. How does that work? Being like the head, like the coach and stuff. Like, how do you put yourself in there?
Yeah, it's different than NCAA, right? Like we make the rules, so we can
Mhm.
a lot of times the team captains are usually just people on the team who are just like stepping up into that leadership role. But for me, it's not too challenging. Unfortunately, like it's not that unfortunate. It's a decision I made, but like when I'm coaching track sessions, for example, with my athletes on a Wednesday, I'm not running that track session.
Mhm.
And for long runs, for example, like I'm not always able to just follow the plan that everyone else is doing because my race is usually like a different weekend that I'm targeting, or the priority is the runners, and so sometimes or a lot of times I like to be the last one at the site, like last one to leave with the site coordinator. So I'm just not always, or maybe we've got a sponsor, I'm hanging out with the sponsor, so my training doesn't always line up with what the team is doing, and so when we get to race day, there's a little bit of extra stuff for me to do. Like I'm the one like setting up the tent and making sure people know where they are and leading the warm-ups, all that. But for those, it's a little different from college where it's like I don't have to sit there and give everybody their individual splits at each mile marker,
Mhm.
because especially because like for most road races, that's just taken care of. Most road races give you your splits at your mile marker and all that. So I might as well go out there and run some miles as fast as I can and contribute to the team. And I've still got my own ambitions when it comes to running, and so it's worked out. It's worked out pretty well, and the team does know. Like sometimes we do have like tempos on Mondays, and we get together on those. And I tell them like, "Hey, I'm here for my workout. And
Mhm.
I want to work out with you guys. This is my workout day, and sometimes we have those tempo days where it's like if it's my session and I'm doing it with with a racing team person, that's different from a racing team session where I'm coaching. And the racing team is a small enough group that it has that kind of flexibility. I do have some days where it's like the whole group is going to do their marathon simulator workout, and I'm on a bike and I've got two volunteers on the course and I'm like bouncing around making sure everyone's
Mhm.
getting taken care of. So yeah, it's just another thing to manage, but I'm passionate enough about my own running that it's worth the effort.
Sounds good. I think that kind of wraps up my side of the conversation and stuff like that. Is there anything that you would like to cover though about the organization? Anything coming up that people might want to look out for?
Yeah, I think my main call to action is I imagine the people who would be like listening to this are probably going to be like, a lot of your friends, college, high school level. Like my main call to action is for somebody who ran in high school or somebody who ran in college is like, don't quit the sport. And I don't mean it as in like you should keep charging for your PRs regardless of consequence going for it. I mean, don't quit the sport. Volunteer for local races. Get involved with your local club, even if it's just to make friends. Um, get out there and pick a couple of races that you're gonna like pick a race that's hosted by a specific race director
Hmm.
and show up to all of that guys or gals races throughout the year. Like stay involved with the sport, and I think that it, there's a global crisis right now of loneliness, and it is being driven almost certainly by like technology and people just not getting together and like sharing in community with each other. And church attendance is down too. So
Hmm.
if you're not going to church on Sunday and you're not joining the bowling league and you don't have your group of you don't do your happy hour with your coworkers or whatever, how are you making friends and how are you keeping that community alive? And I would suggest that running is one of the best ways to do it. It gives you an amazing sense of purpose. You're going to meet some awesome people. You're going to build a great community. And so that's just what I'd say. When you finish out your high school or your NCAA career, figure out a way to stay involved and can give back to the community that provided so much to you. Even if you just did it because
Hmm.
your mom told you to, you can make a really big difference in someone else's life just by being their friend on a Saturday morning long run or working an aid station at a local race. So,
Yeah, no, and that's always like running is one of those things. It's almost like golf. Like once you kind of learn it, it's kind of hard to forget how to do it in a sense. And
yeah.
even if you never ran, it's yes, it's hard at first, but it's not one of those things where it's super hard to get into it. It's really just like finding your rhythm, finding your pace at first. It doesn't matter how slow, how fast. Like anyone can run in a sense, in a way, and it doesn't matter what the pace is. Just finding your groove is the first key, but then finding those connections where you just have those people where you're having fun talking with the others is very important. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Or start your own group.
or start your own group. Yep.
Like,
Again, if
I've
you're if
got,
you're if you're watching this video first, we keep mentioning it, Los Lobos. I do have a video on the channel where I talked with
yeah.
Ben, the guy that started the group, and just what his site is and how to kind of start one if you're interested. So make sure you go check out that video if you're starting here first.
Yeah, and for city people, if you live in a big high-rise building, I know two clubs in the city of Chicago where they started as just advertising amongst their building, and they told people in the building, "Hey, I run at this time if anyone wants to join." You know,
Yep.
so it really can sometimes be as simple as that. You never know who's going to show up.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you again, James. It's always fun getting to talk to you, seeing you, stuff like that. And again, we're so busy that we're finally able to get this call going and talking about it, especially at the beginning of the year. Like so much is going to be happening for your group and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to talk about something that someone might, as again, maybe most of my viewers will be high schoolers, college runners, but I also have a nice follow of the Los Lobos group, other people, their friends that they share this. So if you're interested in groups and stuff like that, I will make sure that I leave down in the description a link to Cara's website along with their social media, stuff like that. So make sure you guys check them out for sure, along with a link to my social media where you can follow me. But thank you again for everyone watching. Thank you for your time. Is there any last remarks that you want to say?
Um, No, I guess, yeah, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. If you want, Miles, you can also share my email, my Cara email
Yeah, for
in
sure.
there as well, because my full time job is just to connect with runners.
Hmm.
So
I
I'm
will for
always
yep.
excited to emails. So,
We'll for sure put that in there. Again, thank you everyone for watching. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me for more videos. And again, make sure you check out those other videos, especially if you're interested in those again, I have a video on marathon running. I have a video on starting your own group. So if you're interested in anything or even just joining a bigger organization, you're at the right video right now. But as always, catch you guys in the next video.